Oh, my God. All right. What's your email or what's your Twitter thing?
Yeah, get him on his Instagram.
Thank Kevin. Yeah, no, hit me up on my Instagram. That's fine. I probably won't see that. It's just a question.
Send him sunset pictures on
Who
your
came
Instagram.
up with this question?
It's a show question.
I take no part in this question, but I'll have to answer it.
You asked me the other day in the conference room, and I said, you shouldn't do that, Kevin. That's a terrible decision.
But you thought it would make for good talking. Just might end up poorly for me. Do you think CeeDee Lamb is already better than Dez Bryant ever was? It's just a question. You can say no. You can disagree. Hopefully it won't get meaner than that.
Dez is my favorite player, and there's nobody ever better than Dez Bryant.
You don't think that.
Dez Bryant had 3 elite seasons. And that was 2012 through 2014.
Yes.
He was elite. The 2011, he was very, very good. He had 63 catches on 103 targets. And I felt like that should have been more. But the touchdown numbers, like, you just can't. The numbers on touchdowns are amazing.
Agreed about the touchdowns. I was going to present the rest of the case based off of those 3 elite seasons. 2012 to 2014. We agree? Those are Dez's elite seasons?
Yes.
Okay. In that time, he had 273 catches. In this same 3-season run for CeeDee Lamb, he has 282 catches. So CeeDee Lamb's already got more. What about catch percentage? 62.6% catch percentage for Dez Bryant. CeeDee Lamb's catch percentage in these last 3 years, 69.3%.
Nice.
What about yards in games? Dez Bryant in this run, 82 yards per game receiving. CeeDee Lamb, 81 yards per game receiving. So close, but advantage Dez. The biggest difference is, of course, the touchdowns, where Dez holds a massive advantage on touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb will have more catches and a better catch percentage. CeeDee Lamb will also probably have a first and second team All-Pro to his name, whereas Dez Bryant did, deservedly so, make first team All-Pro in 2014.
Okay, those are really good stats. And this line right here is the absolute truth. From the 972, CeeDee is 10 times the route runner than Dez ever was. And that's true. CeeDee's route running ability is phenomenal. Dez Bryant was physical, he was big, he was strong, he was going to out-muscle you at the goal line. He had all these great qualities. Like, you can't talk about that stretch with him without just sounding like you're going overboard about how good he was, because he was that good. CeeDee Lamb right now is polished in almost every aspect of his job. And there are so many things that he does so well-rounded. Like Dez, you put the ball up, he can go up and get it, and he's coming down with it. You say you need a physical thing at the goal line, you know that's going to happen. But CeeDee does everything else involved too. Like, he does all these other things. I do also love, I know Dez did this pretty well too, Jake Ferguson gets that catch the other day, and CeeDee Lamb's in there in the mix trying to make a big block for him. I love seeing that kind of stuff. But I do think that at this point, and in the future, like, CeeDee's going to have more receiving yards than Dez did. He already has 4,000 something right now. He's already there. You can almost go to him every play, and he looks like he's been open for 10 minutes whenever most of these throws are happening.
Okay, and here's a text to go along with this, and this is one of the reasons that kind of sparked my curiosity. Don't worry, I'll have another question for you tomorrow that'll probably make people mad too. From the 903, CeeDee is good, but he hasn't been good long enough. There was a 3 to 5 year window when Dez was arguably the best wide receiver in football. False. It was a 3-year window at best. He had 1,000-yard seasons 3 straight years. He was incredible. He also had double-digit touchdowns every single year. He was rewarded with being first-team All-Pro one time in 2014. That was it. That's also when he led the league in touchdowns that year. CeeDee Lamb, just the reason why I wanted to bring it up is CeeDee Lamb has been really good the last 3 seasons. Last year, second-team All-Pro. I think this year he's going to be first-team All-Pro. And so if you just don't think he was better, totally good with that. But in terms of the 3-year sample size, that's why I wanted to bring it up.
So it's a great question. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be better, and there's going to be a major issue with the Cowboys if he's not. Because
I can see that.
When you look at Dez Bryant, this is tough. He only played 8 years for the Dallas Cowboys. That was it.
Yeah.
After this year, so CeeDee Lamb is in his 4th year. Dez Bryant only had 4 more years on the Cowboys, and after year 5, they were not memorable for good reasons. They were memorable for bad reasons.
Right.
He had, after 4 years in the NFL, he played in 54 games total after that for the Dallas Cowboys. He had 3,355 yards in those next 4 years, and that's including year 5 where he had 1,320 yards.
Wow.
So when you do that, in year 6, 401 yards. In year 7, 796 yards. And in year 8, his last year with the Dallas Cowboys, and pretty much his last year in the NFL, 838 yards. Because in 2020, he came back and had 47 yards in his career for that season. So I look at it, I think it's a very tough choice. To be honest, it's a very tough choice because you do have those first 5 years of Dez, which were very good. And right now, CeeDee Lamb is matching that. The numbers are very close. But if CeeDee Lamb is not better than Dez Bryant in year 8, something went horribly wrong with CeeDee Lamb. Let's be honest. It went horribly wrong with Dez Bryant. After year 5.
After he got the deal.
It went horribly wrong.
This one, I like this text from the 301. Comparing 88s is like comparing my kids. I can't do it. I love them all the same, except for Michael Irvin. He's my favorite. And you need to add Post Malone to that group.
What?
So says Drew Pearson. Is Drew Pearson, did you hear about this?
No.
Is Drew Pearson told TMZ Sports, which they get good info, is that Post Malone is their honorary guy in the 88 club. He's like, yeah, he's on a group text with us. And so he's a big fan. And so Post Malone.
Is Antonio Bryant?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I believe I've seen pictures, and it is the 3. It's Michael Irvin, Dez, CeeDee. I'm sorry, the 4. Michael Irvin, Dez, CeeDee, and
Post Malone.
Drew Pearson.
Oh, okay, Drew Pearson and Post Malone.
But not Antonio?
I guess not.
Well, when you take your jersey off and throw it in the coach's face, you don't get to stay in that group.
That's not fair.
Okay, well, let's say Antonio Bryant is on this text chain.
Come on, let him in, Dez.
So is...
You guys have the same last name.
So is Post Malone. And so I thought I would just let you know that Drew Pearson says that Post Malone is part of their 88 text chain.
I was looking, Kevin, I wanted to visit the all-pro years that he could have had.
For sure.
And unfortunately, he was up against Antonio Brown and Calvin Johnson in most of those years. I believe. I don't know who it was.
Or Julio Jones, possibly.
Josh Gordon led the league in receiving yards
and there
in
was
2013.
A time.
So like that was you had Demaryius Thomas. I would probably say, did somebody recently bring up Demaryius Thomas in that conversation? That
he was like Dez to me.
Well, I think that Demaryius Thomas and CeeDee are actually closer because Demaryius Thomas was a more polished receiver than Dez Bryant was, but Dez had raw ability that just you can't find. It's tough to find that kind of thing. But the way that Demaryius Thomas ran routes, the way that CeeDee Lamb runs routes, and the connection he has with his quarterback, I see similarities between the two. And the target numbers are huge for him. So, and I know that Eric Decker was on those teams too, but you had 2 really talented big receivers that were very fast with Peyton Manning. Right now, it's CeeDee Lamb doing his thing, and you have the option of Jake Ferguson and other tools to go to, but loving what their connection is between CeeDee Lamb and Dak right now.
And somebody asked what were the touchdown numbers. The touchdown numbers, there is a gigantic advantage for Dez Bryant. 41 touchdowns in those 3 years. CeeDee is at 23 in those 3 years. And I realize there's still 4 more games to go, but I mean, you ain't going to make up more than like 6, maybe. And so gigantic edge to Dez Bryant in touchdowns. They're pretty much the same yards per game. Big edge to CeeDee Lamb in catches and catch percentage.
Yards per reception to big edge for Dez, I believe. I think it was like 15 in that 15 range. Yards per reception, and CeeDee right now is kind of in the 13, 12 range, which it does feel like, hey, I can get 10 yards almost every time I throw it to CeeDee Lamb.
Can I ask you this? It felt like every time Romo threw an interception, it was Dez's fault, according to certain people. That Tony never threw a real interception if he was throwing it to Dez. Dez screwed him up. Do you feel like that gives CeeDee an edge, that CeeDee runs? Because somebody said he's a much better route runner. Does that give an edge at all to CeeDee Lamb right now, that he's not creating turnovers? Now, he does have, last year he had a drop issue, CeeDee Lamb, and I think that Dez, if he had a drop issue, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. Maybe he did. I'm just forgetting that he had a drop issue if he did. But I feel like I'd rather have a receiver that has maybe a hair of a drop issue than a hey, you ran the wrong route and I threw it where you're supposed to be, and instead of that, there was a defensive player there and he intercepted the ball because of it.
Well, and I don't think that, I don't know if I've seen CeeDee run very many wrong routes, but as far as route runner goes, Mike, it's the precision in the route that I think is the most important. There's no improv in his routes a lot of times, unless they do scramble drill. And now, on his touchdown, it looked like there was a scramble drill moment where Dak had to get out. But the precision within the route. I'll also add this too: the ability to hand the ball off to CeeDee Lamb gives him another edge too, because
I didn't really think about
he's
that.
a weapon.
Yeah.
He's a weapon in so many different ways. And I'm just happy that it's grown into that, because when he was at OU, I was like, I want this receiver. We got him, and then, Mike, you were like, he's going to be the best ever. And it took a minute, but he is turning into it right now.
He's great. Obviously, him and Dak have a special connection, and Dak really wants to feed him. Dak is, I'm not saying every play, but Dak really looks to CD to really get things going offensively, and it's working. I just wanted to read some of these texts.
Yeah, there's a lot.
From the Twitch. It says, which one does Kevin hate more?
I don't hate either one of them.
Swaggy Booties.
What?
Are you out on CeeDee already?
No. I thought you said I brought this question up because I was a hater of Dez.
Wow, I
am
realize
not.
you're a CeeDee hater too.
Badass Mofo Lady T. Kevin has relapsed and needs to go back to rehab.
Oh wow, that's coming back.
People get really worried
Mike
about
_
that.
Cowboy says Dez is a diva, CD isn't.
Oh, okay. I've seen multiple people too. One said, I think Dez is better, but in the long run, CD will be better. Another person, which I love, said, Dez is better right now. Check back with me after the Super Bowl, which I love the projection on that. And so I was just curious where everyone would fall here is, and I love you guys comparing Dez and CD. I personally think from the 817, not me, CD is a better overall wide receiver. However, you were comparing Dez's best 3 years, and we don't have CeeDee Lamb's best 3 years on the books yet. And that's why I wanted to ask.
Wow.
That's why I wanted to ask
interesting.
already.
We could have even better 3 years than the last
I
3.
think we will.
That's
And just think with Dez, I'll bring this up again. Dez had one more, when we were thinking, oh my gosh, Dez. He literally, after year 4, had a great year 5 and then fell off the face of the earth when it came to being a good wide receiver because of injuries, not anything he did. His lower body, he was just dealing with so many lower body injuries.
And his connection with Dak was not the same as it was with Romo.
Right. I did want to add this, Kevin. Have you seen the Michael Irvin audio or video on why he talks about his number not being retired? And the Cowboys just don't retire numbers.
Sure.
But in the conversation, he's like, I don't want my number retired. He said, because when they hang your number up there and it's retired, you get your flowers that day. Every time CeeDee Lamb scores, I get my flowers because he's wearing 88. And everybody remembers Michael Irvin.
Great point. That is a great point. Appreciate y'all's feedback very, very much.
I can't believe that was the most risky segment in radio.
That was Kevin who wanted to hate on Dez or CD. We're just
I'm not hating on anybody. How do you know I don't just both think they're amazing?
Oh, but somebody did point. I think it just goes back to your Michael Irvin love, and you wanted to hate on both of them.
Tomorrow, are you trying to compare Dak and Romo?
I'll tell you what.
I got a Micah question for you tomorrow.
Oh my God!
It's just
What
a
are
question. You
doing?
don't even know what the question
You're
is
gonna
yet.
say he's better than
I do
DeMarcus
hate
Ware.
88 Antonio Bryant because I bought a lot of his rookie cards.